Let's see. Is this one gonna fix it? Yep, I don't know. I don't think so. Okay, cool. I can hear my voice. You guys might be hearing an echo for a little while. Let's see if that does it. Nice. For some reason, I have to add things in here twice. Uh, okay, so basically, I was just doing a little test there and seeing, make sure stuff comes through properly. Basically, what we're gonna do today, we're gonna cover how to hack the most securely designed system in the world. And it's not as complex as one might think. I already kind of went through the whole thing one time in the stream. Somebody commented on there, and thank you for whoever that was that said that the audio wasn't working. And I believe I fixed that, so let's just make sure again. I don't trust nothing. Yeah. Okay, so make sure I can hear the music too. It's nice. So we're gonna hack the most secure systems in the world. And it's not as, like I said, it's not as complex as one might think. Now, if you watched the last video, you can see we went over a little bit. We went over just basically the overview of cybersecurity, why security is important. I talked a little bit about my background, talked a little bit about what aspects of cybersecurity and how they apply to almost anything in life. And honestly, a lot of things in life are that way too. What we're gonna do is switch this guy off. Oop, that's the music. This guy. There we go. So now you have my overhead view. So that way I'm not just staring at you the whole time. I think that's kind of weird. Okay, so back to this. We go back to this one. Okay, so here we just wanted to brush over, and for some reason I can't move it around. We just wanted to brush over the most common consumer network, which one might call the most actively attacked. Okay, not actively attacked. The most vulnerable usually. And I did brush over a couple things when I didn't know my audio was working. One of those things being you can kind of switch and replace how these things are set up in order. But most of the time, this one with the star here is going to be the most common setup. It's going to be a modem router combo. And in those, we spoke on a little bit how back in, I would say, no longer than 5 years ago, there were providers that would give out these modem router combos. Probably still happens, but I haven't ran into it yet. Where the modem router combo will have very easily guessed default credentials, such as admin password 123, root, admin, etc. Some of those are still that way. Yeah. So, and you can kind of break that down a little bit and mimic a little more so what the more pro grade or commercial grade setups do, where you just take that combo and break it out a little bit. Where what you can do with these modem router combos sometimes, I would say almost every modem router combo should have this ability to disable the routing function and put it into bridge mode, and it's going to have one LAN port access and no Wi-Fi. That way you can buy your own aftermarket router, which is usually better, has more coverage, it's more able to be configured properly, which was this one on the left here. For some reason there's a text box, but where it goes router, modem, internet. So PC, router, Wi-Fi or LAN to the modem, and then to the internet. Most of the time though, it's this. It's going to be this modem router combo, and it's going to be default. So what happens is, here, I'm just going to comment in my own thing real quick. Actually, I don't even know if I can do that. I think I can do it here though. Let's do that. Yeah. Yeah, okay. It's still working. Just making sure. This OBS thing is... Whew. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes you have to add 3 inputs to make one input work. It's weird. Okay, so where were we? Yes, so back to this. So let's say if you're an attacker, illegal. Is that how you spell it? Yeah. Hacker, illegal. You are going to, most of the time, get your initial access is going to be through this. And we'll just put a little thing here, like by means of phishing, malware, Trojan, etc. Put it there. Yeah, I think I can no, I don't want to do it. I just want it to be easily moved. By means of phishing, malware, Trojan, etc. That attacker is going to get to that PC, and usually they're going to exfiltrate the data. We don't have to really diagram that. They're going to pull the data, passwords, personal information, could be taxes, could be pictures of their ID, whatever. Pictures of their passport, documents, health records, all that stuff. A lot of people store that stuff on their PC if they don't do it in the cloud already. The hacker's going to do that. But most of the time too, after they do that, after they get the loot, they're going to attempt to do a lateral movement within the network. And part of that is just getting your mind around what's going on in this network. Try to figure out what kind of traffic is being moved, what kind of devices are connected, what's this network used for? Sometimes you could do this initial access path, your means of phishing, malware, Trojan, whatever, and you don't even know if it's going to be your first access. Could be some dude in his room and you got that cool data that you can access, right? Their health records, passwords, stuff like that. Sometimes you can get on one and it might be a CEO of a tech company, and well, let's just say that's why they call it spear phishing, or whaling. It's those high level targets that they go after for those reasons. Anyway, let's say that high level tech CEO or whatever it may be has a VPN tunnel, and that's something that you found on their computer. We're kind of getting off a little bit, but rather than, well, it actually does still take the same pathway. It still goes through the router and the modem to the internet. it's tunneled. So when it comes from internet, it's going to connect somewhere else. Let me just pull up another cloud picture. It's going to pull up somewhere else. Commercial VPN tunnel end. Oops. Why is it covering my arrow? Okay. Let's say that high level tech CEO, right? They have a VPN file in there and it connects them. Of course, it's going to take the same routes, router, modem, internet. That tunnel is going to carry it all the way to that commercial VPN tunnel end, which is then going to take it to this. That tunnel will just drop it off somewhere in here. Could be right here before the modem. Actually, no, I think it has to be after the modem. So it'll be after the modem, after the firewall, in the firewall. Some firewalls configured with VPN profiles that you can configure where that's where they're dropped off, right? Just in that environment. You can put them on a different subnet too to remain a little bit more secure. That's also how these systems are managed remotely. Let's pull back. Let's pull back to Untitled 2. Yeah, this one. So the average consumer network. Anyway, that would be not the average, because that guy's the CEO of a tech company or whatever it may be. CEO of something. It could be even the IT support of etc. company. Insert the name. This is the most average setup. Virtual firewall could be OpenSense, pfSense, whatever. But this one, I would say is probably one of the best options if you have a little bit of extra time to do research. These OpenSense, pfSense firewalls, you can configure it on an old computer and just add a network card so it has an in port and an out port, and everything that goes through that's going to be set up customized to your specs. You can also go to like GitHub, Almost Positive. They have repositories of pre-made lists of rules for the most average person. And it's gonna help you be a little bit more secure. So also sometimes you can have that virtual firewall on the endpoint itself, which could even stop the attacker right there. But let's say they want to do that lateral movement, right? They want to, once they get the loot, they want to see, okay, what else can I get? And they can do scans and stuff like that, and map whatever, to see what else is connected on this network. And if let's say that attacker has the default credentials for one of these modem router combos, they can then use this as a point to mount more attacks on other people, which could even make the FBI kick in your door one day. You don't even know what happened, and some guy's been hacking, Target, let's say, from your network. So it looks like from the FBI's perspective, that's what you were doing. Little tea break. I used to be an avid coffee drinker, but now it's just green tea. I found that coffee is just a little bit too, makes me a little jittery, and I like to drink it too much. Damn, my ring is stuck on for some reason. That normally doesn't get stuck on like that. I lifted this morning, so maybe that's why. A little water too. Maybe a new pouch. So, average consumer network. VPN tunnel if they're non-average. Sometimes you can even configure tunnels to happen in your router too. You can tunnel your entire router's traffic to wherever. It could be a VPN or VPN, whatever. Let's go back. So this one, okay, so we'll say just a general, somewhat common commercial grade setup. It's going to be similar to this. It may have some additions here and there, but to keep it simple, we'll say the server has its storage arrays, has 2 network ports, in out, goes to the router, switch, firewall. Is going to be a hard box firewall, most likely Fortinet or something like that, Cisco, to the modem, to the internet. if we wanted to get even more specific, we could say it's their internet service provider. It's connecting to their internet service provider's servers, which then connects to other internet service provider servers. That's the internet in a nutshell. Anyway, so that's the average commercial grade setup. We're trying to get a good background going before we dive into the most securely designed system. So we'll put a little note here just in case we're in the middle of talking and somebody joins, wants a question. More securely designed. Okay, so more securely designed. What do we call it? Commercial? And we're just going to put the little mostly note there too, because this is just based off of my observations and data. More securely designed commercial network. So, before somebody commented and let me know my audio wasn't working, we were walking through this. It's a little bit better when you can walk through it in the design phase, but we'll start here. So, compare it to the last one, right? It only had one server, didn't have this load balancer. We'll say these are web servers, keep it simple. These 3 web servers, all they're going to do is web traffic. 80 and 443. Those are the 2 ports. When you start the server initially, those are going to be the only ports that are open. This is something that Amazon does really well. They have pre-designed images. You throw one in and it boots the server up, designed for it, what you picked it for. So that's another thing too, that I won't say a lot, that a pen tester or somebody who's offensively getting into a network illegally, a hacker, black hat, they're going to look for a server that wasn't designed for what it's doing. It wasn't set up in the manner to do exactly what it's doing. It happens a lot. The server will have open ports. It could be running something else in the background. It could be like a combo thing too. Most of the time what I found, it's almost like, if you're familiar with how they classify security systems and information in the government, they compartmentalize things that are very secure and very important. And the reason is because when you separate things, it makes it a lot harder for, 1, information to leak, 2, for another person to know another person's work. So you're not going to know what the guy next to you is doing, and the guy next to you isn't going to know what you're doing. Compartmentalizing. Similar when you get into the higher security grade commercial systems. AWS, I think, does a really good job at this. The only thing that I kind of see done improperly, and that's probably no fault of Amazon, but to the users themselves that want to build these servers, is their accounting system. Just like Windows, when you have an accounting system, it's really easy just to mess up that. Okay, I'm doing this the wrong way. I'm just moving my mic. It's really easy to do a whoopsie and accidentally give somebody too many permissions. That's what I see most common fault of an AWS system that's implemented. It seems to me, and you can also, Amazon, it's no fault of them. It's the people that are using the system. But once you compartmentalize things, once you jump up into that commercial grade design, and it will say security was in the design, we're going to use a server for that purpose that it was meant for. So the server is only going to be a web server. It's only going to be a app server. It's only going to be this server. That server is only going to do what it needs to do, nothing else. Instead of, you could save money too. Let's say small businesses do this too. You get one server and you're going to run your web app, you're going to run your storage, you're going to run your API system, you're going to run maybe even the sales of the website off that single server. Maybe even you do, if it's a medium-sized business, they might have a Windows implementation and they want to do their own kind of system setup, their own licensing. If all that's on one server, it's a lot harder to configure it to be secure. Whereas when you compartmentalize, like we were just saying, it's a lot easier to take that one little section of thing and make it only that, and that's it. There's a lot less room for a service to go out of date, something to be leveraged incorrectly, set up improperly. It can still happen for sure, but it's less likely. Anyway, so that more secure commercial design system, these servers are going to be essentially the same. They're going to be web servers, just to keep it simple. They're going to run maybe 3 sites, and they're going to have 80 and 443 open, and that's it. And all they're doing is serving files. Where do the files come from? The storage array. And why is there a load balancer, and how would that make the system more secure? Well, not more secure, but more resilient to overwhelming the system to break it down, to deny service to their customer base. It's going to make it a lot harder for an attacker to go from the internet and maybe even get on the web page, because they're already here if they're trying to get that web page, right? And just make a bunch of noise and requests repeatedly to cause these systems to be like, oh, I can't handle all these requests at one time, aka denial of service. There's also the distributed denial of service too, which is just multiple computers in different areas trying to do the same thing. You can also accomplish a distributed denial of service attack from just clogging that internet pathway up. I don't see it as much, but I think it did just happen maybe 3 years ago to Cloudflare. Could have happened yesterday, I just haven't checked the news. But anyway, for the most part, once you put that load balancer in there, it's going to make it a lot more difficult for somebody to overwhelm that system. And this can be scaled infinitely. You could have multiple load balancers for, you could have a load balancer just for one website, and 3 servers just that one single website. I'm sure that's done somewhere. But keeping it simple, load balancer, it's going to say when it gets X amount of requests, that can only be handled by one, or maybe it even sequentially divides the requests. Let's say 5 people access the site at one time. That load balancer is going to say, okay, you go to this server, you go to that server, and you go to server 3. And even though they're all the same web page, right? It's just a way to keep that peaking loads smooth for each server, and a lot harder to overwhelm it and crash it, aka denial of service. So like I said, it doesn't really make it more secure, it just makes it more resilient, but this is a common occurrence in these commercial grade networks. Another thing too, you're going to have a hard firewall, just like in that first average commercial grade. It's going to be, FortiGate, Fortinet, Cisco, something like that. It's one of those separate, where its only job is to be a firewall. It's super, I won't say super secure, because I think we just had a breach not that long ago of Fortinet, or a 0-day. But, no system is really 100% secure, which is what we're going to get at. But anyway, continue on. The router, you can also configure. It's another step of security. You can also have another form of firewall in there. You can set up VLANs, etc. Let's check my stuff. Yep. Just making sure my stuff's still working. OBS just likes to drop out sometimes. So, and we'll go to that switch. And it's going to say, well, let's be a little more particular here. Let's say managed switch. Because this way, it's almost like another form of load balancing, but most of the time, if you have a dumb switch, it's going to send that one packet that gets there to all the clients connected to the switch. When you get a managed switch, you can say, if you get a packet and it needs to go here, it's going to only go there, rather than just clogging the network. So another form of resiliency. Not so much security, but yes, in terms of the ability to see devices on that network. If you set up a managed switch properly, you can say, if you're a packet coming from this place, you're not seeing none of this. It's almost like a form of segmentation too. Firewalls can do that as well. Or most of the time a firewall is like, hey, whoa, let me see your credentials before I let you through. The firewall game is wild. It can go super in depth to deep packet inspection. It can use AI to examine the traffic based off of past, how long it's been connected, other data points. Firewalls are cool. So, more secure. So another way that this could be set up to be more secure too, what makes it more secure anyway, is that the server isn't going to have the files that it's serving on its system. They're going to separate that and put it into a storage array where it's literally just, we can call it a server, but it's just a device that has a lot of drives that store data. And they say, okay, this data, it goes to the server. I want this data, it goes here, etc. It's going to go through that managed switch. You can also put a load balancer in there too. You can put a load balancer pretty much anywhere. Further, what makes it another level of security, right, would be a backup. So if this storage array gets encrypted by ransomware, gets corrupted in some way, they can have the system set up to back up every 10 minutes, etc. We can get even more secure and say, let's just say, let's throw another one in here. We can get super in depth with this, but this is going to be, well, actually, we'll say weekly. So this is your hourly backup. This one will be a weekly. Okay, it doesn't want to stack. Okay. Your weekly backup, your hourly backup, the normal storage. And then the next level of security would be the off-site backup. So by one way or another, the data is backed up off-site. So that way, and depending on the level of commercial design, if they got a lot of money, they could set it up to maybe even back up every 10 minutes to an off-site backup location. By some means, could be an entirely different switch, router, firewall, modem, different ISP that it gets to this off-site backup. But it's getting there somehow. I imagine this is how the banks do it. I don't really know about the banks and how they store their off-site backup, but storage array, off-site. Why does that make it more secure? So let's say an attacker or a catastrophic flood happens and it takes down this entire network. That backup off-site is still going to be there, so they can at least go to another data center and say, hey, we want this similar setup, and they can almost implement it within a day and then pull off that off-site backup and put it onto a on-site storage array. So even if a catastrophic flood, ransomware, hacking group takes over your entire setup, you're still going to be able to at least have that off-site backup to bring up another one. So I would say this might be becoming more and more common and average in the commercial network system space. But we'll jump into the most securely designed systems in the world. We'll just do a new board. Now, this can only be used in certain cases because of the nature of the system, right? But that's what makes it the most secure. We'll say server again. Most of the time this is done in like research facilities, stuff like that. And we'll call this a workstation. Put it over here. And actually, let's make this a little more simple. And just go here. And we'll just if we can just copy all that. Oops, I don't want stickies. Back. This one. Let's see if this works. Nice. Okay. So, why this is different? Why is this different? works yet. Oops. This is getting into a little bit of what I was getting to with that offsite backup. I'm not super particular with the offsite backup rules, but I believe when you're designing a system to be secure and resilient, this offsite backup might only be accessible for a certain window of time, and in any other situation it's not going to be accessible, and this might even be by a manual means, which means a person disconnecting or reconnecting a cable, be that fiber or LAN, Cat5, whatever. Excuse me. So that way, if somebody did, catastrophic access, flood, whatever, hacker, ransomware, they take over that whole network, it's going to be inaccessible. Just to touch on that. So, we can't call this the cloud. Whoops. Just to be consistent. What these most secure... Here, let me just... Mostly. We're just gonna keep that in there because I'm not a network engineer. Let's be straight about that. Let me make sure it's working still. Okay, cool. It's working. All right, just making sure. So it's the most secure design mostly. Why do I say that? Because I'm not a network engineer again. But with the common sense in mind, how you access a system? Well, you get in through the network. Okay, so what happens if this doesn't exist? There is no means of internet accessing this entire setup, which means you don't need a modem. You might still want a firewall just to keep systems segregated. But in this type of design, let's reshape this a little bit. Can we color it? Yeah. Oops. Let's make these ones this color just to... I should have been doing this. Let's duplicate that to workstations. This is getting into network engineering for sure. And from what I've learned from my courses that I've taken, this is how much I know. So, I'll take these, copy it, paste it, and then I think I can draw like a square with these. So, do this. Oh. Okay, hold on. Let's do the doodler, I think. Yeah, here we go. Okay. It's not square. There we go. Okay. We're just trying to make this fast because I know doodling takes forever. Okay. It gets the idea across. And we'll just label them. 1, 2. Okay, this is a little different. Fire routers, switch. This would be a very secure design. Okay, this kind of gets the gist across. This internet is... We'll draw another box. There's no way to get here. Why? Because there's no connection. This is what we call an air-gapped system, an air-gapped design. most of the time, like I said, it's going to be in those research lab scenarios, maybe a college, maybe a development lab for an unknown entity. And maybe it's an offsite backup company. It's essentially going to be like this, but probably won't have, I don't think it would have an offsite backup. It might. We'll keep it there anyway. Just keep it more secure, right? So you're going to have these workstations where they're doing processing of whatever. It could be, let's say, in the nuclear realm, right? These scientists are here, they're performing work, and then actually, let's duplicate this one, and we'll say it's a lab equipment. And that's its own separate thing too. So essentially what we're doing here, we'll make it a little nicer looking, is we're making our own internet separate from the internet. That's, if you can imagine what an air gap system is going to be like. This way, I mean, even nobody is going on their workstation and reading an email. They're not visiting websites because they can't. They're not, it's so secure because it literally is saying no. It's taking the keys away from anybody that goes to that network and saying you can't access nothing except what's on this network, except what you need to access. It's only things inside the network. So the workstation scientist is going to hit the network and maybe, let's say, I don't know, pull some data from the storage array. They're going to then use that data and say, hey, lab equipment, process this data in this way, or use this data to process materials, something like that. This is the most securely designed system. It's so secure because it's separate from the internet. It is not connected to the internet at large. This is sort of similar to, if you imagine how Tor works, it's just not using onion routing. It would be more like, see, the difference being though, that Tor, it's still connected to the internet technically. So is the deep web. It's just uncatalogued or whatever you call it. Search engine hasn't touched it yet, hasn't messed with it. Let's just make sure it's still working. Yeah. So the main difference though is instead of like Tor and the deep web, it's just not connected to the internet at all. Tor only lets you connect through their browser, which uses onion routing, which is why it's also very secure. But it still enables people to utilize it and leverage it in improper ways, and maybe even do illegal stuff. Well, we know for sure illegal stuff happens on Tor, but this type of stuff is more for a research environment, but it could also be utilized for militaries around the world, three-letter agencies, people that we don't know exist. Why do we know they exist? Well, because they're operating in functions like this. This data is it's at such a high security level that it literally can't be allowed to be on the internet. Or you could do like, I want to say what NATO and I don't know for sure. Maybe let's just not speak on that because we're pulling at straws here. But essentially, this is what you're doing. You're setting up your no internet connection, but it's still a network, so you can get work done. This data on the storage arrays is so secure, though, that it could even be stored in its own facility dedicated just for that, just for storing that information. And it might not even be, you might even have to go just to Net2 to access a certain storage array, or just to Net1 to access a certain storage array or server. You can kind of segment and chop up the network any way you want with that firewall. And it's also not connected to the internet, so that's what makes it, once again, the most secure. But, for example, how do we hack the most securely designed network that's possible. If we can't we can't send phishing emails, we can't send them Trojans, we can't send malware disguised as a PDF. What do we do? Well, the perfect example is what happened in Iran in their nuclear research facility that they claimed they were only producing enriched uranium to put in their reactors. We all know what they were doing with that, maybe. Perfect example though. What do? Well, you drop USBs in the parking lot, you mail them a USB, you leave one in their mailbox, you drop it by their door, you find out who the people are that work there, you social engineer them, get their badge credentials to get access to the environment. Most of the time though, if we're talking Iran nuclear facility, we're going to say, there's probably a little bit more advanced features as far as identification goes in how people get into that, into the research facility. It's going to be, biometrics, etc., multi-factor, two-factor, stuff like that. Like, not only can you can't just get in by presenting a badge and waving to the security guard, yeah, come on in. No, it's going to be badge, ID, the picture looks the same as you do on the two IDs, and maybe even an iris scan, fingerprint, weight, physical makeup, all types of physical security controls can be implemented to make this even a more secure network. That's something we actually didn't even touch on when you go to that. I think it was this one. We'll say this is the more securely designed network. This is something, let's say that this more securely designed network is super secure in a virtual aspect, but on a physical aspect, that data center only uses that one factor, only uses that badge to get into that data center. You could social engineer somebody, get their badge off them, and you have access now to that data center. You don't, all this is, it helps, but it's almost worthless. Because you can just walk yourself to the server room, put a USB in, or maybe even put in a land turtle, a rubber ducky, etc., and you now have access to the system remotely. You can just do that, leave, drop the badge somewhere, you're gone. That's a lot less common, but it happens. Let's go back to that. Most secure design. So, like I said, one of those questions you might ask is, well, how do we get in? How do we get in? One, social engineering. You can get into the other ones that way too. Two, we'll be more specific, drop USBs. It's kind of a form of social engineering because curiosity, what do they say? Killed the cat. Drop them USBs. Let's say leave device at home of worker, of employee. And that could be, let's get a little more specific on 3 and say, could be a land turtle. Could be a, what's the other one? Rubber ducky. Cable. Could be any of those, But if you go, I haven't really researched it 100%, but I think that was one of the ways that they assume might have happened to the Iran nuclear research facility. Not only was that beautifully done, performed, the virus itself was beautifully crafted to be very low, slow, calculated, all on its own too, because whoever designed that virus, I guess you'd call it a worm. It's a worm that mutates into a virus, I think. A malware worm. We'd have to get into the specifics of the definitions to really call it out, but it moved around slowly until it found that lab equipment after, understanding the network and what was going on. Once it found that lab equipment, it implanted itself and then activated and slowly but surely changed exact data points to just mess up the lab equipment enough to say that to say that he was either the employees that just didn't know what they were doing, or that the lab equipment was faulty, maybe. So they were switching out lab equipment. They were firing employees because they thought they didn't know what they were doing, researchers, etc. Until eventually, like I said, I'd have to research it a little more, but to my knowledge, they finally figured it out. It was like 2 years later, I think. I don't think they were able to enrich any more uranium for 2 or 3 years. So that's just an example of how you would. And like I said, it's not as complex, and if you're still watching, you've been watching from the beginning, it's not as complex as one may think. when we when you just think about it, it's air gapped. Okay, well, if the only thing that's stopping it is the air, I can move through the air. But okay, so you put a wall there, you put doors, you put guards, you put cameras, all that kind of stuff. Let's make sure this is still working. Yeah, okay. So that's it. Like I said, it's not as complex as one may think, but it does get more complex once you include most of the time. If network engineers and commercial entities are going to take the time to design a network like this, one, you really have to think about it when you design it, because it needs to be designed from the ground up this way. Two, you're going to spend the time, like I said, if it's air gapped, to put in place those things that block the air. There's other ways too. Like let's say, these other ways though are more destructive. They're going to, like I think Mr. Robot had famously had an episode on this where they hacked into the fire control systems of whatever bank, and then caused it to overheat, and I think they dumped I don't remember exactly, but they got their way in through the air gap system by, I want to say they broke in, or they social engineered their way in. It's been a long time since I've watched Mr. Robot, but that's one of the ways, But even this right here, like I said, it's not that complex. It's not as complex as one might think. Oh, it's the most securely designed system in the world. Well, what that boils down to is it's air gapped. But you can do that at home as well. It's just that simple. You can do your own offsite backups too. This is one of the things I was looking into. You can get a trusted friend, and both of you together do that offsite backup, where you say, okay, I'm going to take your USB drive, you take mine, and it just has the most important stuff that you could not live without, essentially, on those USB drives. You have his, he has yours. That's an offsite backup. That way, catastrophic event, hacking, ransomware, whatever it is, any of that stuff happens, you still have access to your data, at least. Yeah, your systems have been compromised. Yeah, your house burned down, a flood happened, whatever. At least you still have, let's say it could be family photos from 20 years ago, passed away relatives, etc. This is the type of stuff that consumers are wanting, that offsite backup. And offsite backup could be in the cloud somewhere too, so you could have multiple offsite backup designs. You could have the same files encrypted in the cloud somewhere, Google Drive. And the only reason I wouldn't say that is if you encrypt it on your own, cool. But if it's that important of data, it's probably not something that you want to have in the cloud. Because, like we covered, what is the cloud? It's just someone else. It's a server that somebody else owns. That's not you. It's somebody else's computer. That's all the cloud really is. But once again, social engineering, drop USBs, it's kind of the same concept as one would access this more securely designed network, not the most securely designed. You can still attack this network in the same way, and it might even be a lot easier to do that social engineering. It definitely will be easier to get on that physical access plane. That's for sure. kind of brush back on this. So this is like that average consumer network. All you'd have to do to air gap that system is this. Yep. And now, well, okay, this is all connected to the internet still. This is that VPN extra, but get what I'm pointing at. All you'd have to do is put a wall there. Nothing accesses the internet. Disconnect your modem. Unplug it. It's air gapped. No one's probably really going to do that, but what you could do is have a computer that's never connected to the internet, and that's your air gap system now. And you can put all your super important stuff. I would say maybe just like to keep it up to date once a week, because it's the most important stuff. And it's also got to be convenient in terms of security, which if we go back to this most secure design, it's super inconvenient because there's no network access. Like you can't do what we described here. Oh, this is just average commercial grade. You can't do, let's go to consumer. You can't do what I was saying here. Take a VPN through your router, modem, internet, commercial VPN tunnel end. Where does that commercial VPN take you? Well, it dumps you off here. Most of the time. It's going to go boop, internet, modem, firewall, router, and switch, and access that whole network just through that securely encrypted tunnel. And why can't you do that here? Well, it's air gapped. There's no internet access, which makes it what? Very inconvenient, which is why it's only done in the most adamant of circumstances. So, to cover it again, how do we hack the most securely designed, let's put that here, the most securely designed systems? We drop a USB in the parking lot. We see who we can trick into giving us access. That's it. Oh, the next level is you just walk in there yourself and plug the USB in. So I think we covered that pretty well. And now I think what we'll do is pull up my VMware Fusion. Also, if you go to the Offensive Security website and you look up the Mac guide on how to install and configure, I think it's just install and use VMware Fusion on a Mac, I wrote that guide. Yeah, that was me. You know why? Because it was super out of date and didn't work, the one they had. This is crazy too, if you ever want to change something on the OffSec website, their guides, it took like a month of back and forth on GitLab. Yeah, so what was I going to do? What we're going to do is probably do some Hack the Box. Maybe try Hack Me. I haven't done it in a while, and I kind of feel like doing one. And since my stream is actually working, yeah, nobody's watching, but no. I mean, I kind of feel bad for those like an hour ago, somebody joined and was like, oh, there's no audio. I should have checked. Trust but verify. And my throat's dry because I've been blabbering. Okay. We want to do my screen capture. Properties. Window. Find VMware Fusion. There we go. And then we can just take this one and put on this one. And let's... Actually, you know what? I'm just doing some renaming stuff so I can track what I'm doing. KVM1. And this one is... What is it? Oh yeah. Free flow, I think they call it, right? What is it called? Freeform. That's close enough. let's go to my VM. Hopefully my MacBook handles this. Hopefully, oh, I don't even remember what I put this password to. I have like 30 VMs. Ah! We did it though. We're in. Okay, so let's do some try-hack-me. Try-hack-me. Is it .com? Yeah. Let's log in. You should remember me. Are you a robot? Dang. Well, now I gotta... Well, my username's common knowledge. Password, though? I gotta look that up. In my PM. Password manager. That's another thing, so we talk about those mostly securely designed networks. Personal security of the employees is one of those things that will add to the additive effect of this total security of the system itself. Anyway. Oh jeez. Yeah, it's a long one. Okay. Let's just... Maybe it is covered. Well, if it's not, oops. I'm not a robot. I swear. Okay, look at that. Top 3%, huh? Oof. Will not save it. Why don't we save our password? Well, for one, that's the first loot I'm going for if I get access to your system. I'm going for that browser loot. That's them saved passwords in the browser. If it's not a password manager, it's in the browser, it's mine. Okay, let's see, what do we got? Learn. Hands-on. Hands-on hacking. Let's do a little bit. It's been a minute since I've been on here. What do we want to do? Based on my experience. Boiler? Do a CTF? I don't know. Yeah. Pickle Rick. let's just do it easy, root me. Like I said, it's been a while. I might even have to re-download my VPN file. It's been that long. Let's see here. I'm gonna blank out this stream, or at least go back to freeform while I connect to my VPN. Yeah, I don't even have it downloaded. Download my configuration file. That should be there. Cool. Let me just sudo VPN. Actually, I think you have to spell it out. Yeah. .VPN. Boom. If they fix that initial connection doohickey. What? Oh yeah. Okay, looks like we're connected. Let's refresh. Awesome. We are connected. Let's go back to RootMe and show you my screen. Close freeform. Go to the CaliVM. Let's see how struggle bus we will. We'll start the machine. Nice. 1 won't see it for another minute. Root me. Let's see how long it takes. I haven't done CTF in a minute. Been actually doing pen testing and red teaming. So I guess I've been doing actual CTFs, but I need some more water. I'll be back. Don't mind the mess. See, I didn't fall. Is that for ASMR? Okay, well, before we even do anything else, let's just do an NMAP, huh? Ooh, my Mac's getting a little hot. Copied. This one? What is it? Control Shift V? Nope. There we go. Okay, well that's the IP. Dash SV. We'll just do the first 1,000. SV. Yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, I think that does it. Let's just do it. What? Do a little CTF for fun. Any takers? I'm gonna guess if it's a simple box we're trying to root, I'm not looking. Simple box we're gonna try and root, it's gonna be a Linux server with some sort of like anonymous FTP login, and then we have to provask. Even easier would just be an old Windows server. Let's see what we get though. Huh. Oh, here we go. Cool. What do we got? Oh, there's a web page. OS fingerprint is something crazy. That's Ubuntu, so I think I was right. That's an older OpenSSH, but I don't think it's vulnerable still. So all we got is SSH and 80. I'm gonna guess that it's the web page. That is gonna be the vulnerable thing. So let's just go to that server. One of these. Let's see what it is. Cool. Root at root me. Can you root me? What do we got? Well, I guess we should just do. If it's serving 80, right? That's the index. It doesn't say index external though. Can you root me? What are you? Might have to do a more intense scan. Or I wonder if it's this. Is this an old Apache? Let's see. Look at this. You don't even have to customize it. No, don't use this page. Why? Why does Firefox do that? When I click on a bookmark, you think I want it to go where I'm at to go to there? No. Get it right. Oops, that's not what I wanted. There we go. Linux kernel. That's cool. That's not what we're looking at. What is exploitable on this system? It's running Ubuntu. Why does it say that? Apache, HTTPD, Ubuntu. There's some win. It's probably just a bunch of garbage. One time I did this right. Hmm. 4 hops, huh? 900 closed ports. Wonder if it's just a default configuration of SSH. Or root at rootme. Is it just a SSH brute force? Is this something I can type in? No, this isn't even. Root at rootme. Let's just see what happens. Let's see. Not even letting me try. I wonder if this is too old. I don't think it's that old, but I think it's vulnerable old. Yeah. Yeah, it's not. That's not it. Okay, it's just not letting me. What's going on here? Okay. Not even trying. Well, I might be trying, but it's not giving me any feedback. Am I just in? That's weird. Well, this would be the first thing I would check, but we got 80 in SSH. And the SSH just isn't working. Yeah. That's weird. Well, maybe it's root at rootme. Maybe it's. Is that just the wrong username? It's not letting me. It's not even saying you're not allowed to do this, which is weird. Just don't get no response. Just do nothing. Oh, you're going to do something now. That's strange. What do we need to do? Very weird. We don't want to talk about reconnaissance, but we're probably just gonna. This isn't working, so let's just go off the bat and say we want to do some web profiling with Silbuster. No, what's the good one? I forgot what it's called. This is a really average one, so I have to think that way. Could do Nikto. There's no input. That's something, I guess. Durbuster, yeah. Durbuster. Well, this is the old one. Oops. Let's just do medium, I guess. Let's try it. Is there anything? Oh, look at that. We did find stuff. It's .php. Well, that's probably our way in, huh? Index.php. What is it? The stock PHP page? Why didn't it show when I first went there? Oh, okay, so that's probably going to be one of our routes in. Icons uploads. I'm sure that's going to be our thing. Because of the local file inclusion, probably. This is very good. So let's just see what's in uploads. Oh wow. Okay. So now we need to find out where to upload things. And we know it's this for sure now. But as we found, that's not vulnerable. Oh no. Okay. It's lagging. Yep. So far we just have uploads, index.js, icons, common. This one's kind of... What is this? JavaScript. I would say it's going to be this one. Uploads. But there's nothing in it right now. Which is weird. So how do we upload things? Bunch of JavaScript. But is it just doing that fancy thing? Looks like it. Yeah. Why is there so much JavaScript? But it's only doing that. Range. I'm probably not gonna have time to do this one. It's just hammering. Hey, we found something else. Icon's small. And that's the 403, so. But index PHP. Our index. So, I'm assuming this is gonna be a local file inclusion. So we'll probably just pause this for now. Get in our burp suite. I have it on here. Oh no, I don't have burp suite on here. What am I thinking? Well, let's get burp suite real quick. This is a pretty newer distro I've been using. So, random map command. I think I can just do. Can I? Sure. Sure can. Oh. What the heck? It's been a while since I ran this system. So let's just download it from the site. Community. Yep. Look at my email. Although their training is awesome on this site. So community, cool, it even detected its arm. Which I think they fixed. It's working really well, at least for the Apple ARM architecture. I know when I tried running it on one of my Raspberry Pis with Kali, this was like 2 years ago, I couldn't use the sandbox browser, so not a huge deal, but I could use everything else just fine. I bet I don't even have Foxy proxy set up. Nope. Well, let's get that going. Foxy. Say it's this add, yeah. Burp. It's just forwarding V to 80. Oh, I might have to do the cert thing too. It's not that bad, I don't think. I don't really remember. I think I have to like export the cert and upload it into Firefox. Missing. What the heck? In a minute. I just configured this thing. I have it on my other. Pull that up. Windows. What do you think? That's probably running on that VM. Let's just run it up. I have like 5 computers and each one of them has a hypervisor and I have a dedicated hypervisor and I got a lot going on here. Normal start. And I'm using VMware Fusion, using VMware Fusion Pro, using VirtualBox. Get that one going. Yeah, I'm not an expert by any means, but it's just about a minute since I set up Foxy Proxy. That opens. This should be downloaded. Just execute the shell. What are you doing? What does it think it's doing? Why did it open the shell? I thought it was supposed to be a jar. Okay, that's still running. And that's running. Oh, that's that one again. This one. Oh, okay. Why is it dash shell? I don't think I can just execute the shell. Do I have to like install it? I guess I like Java jar it. That's what I remember. Oops. Something weird too. That's a squiggly and a 200 squiggly when you copy sometimes. Permission denied. It says ./. Oh my gosh, what's going on here? Why is it different every time? Oh, download and install. Yeah. Watch me struggle to run Burp Suite. I swear it used to be a jar for the ARM platform. Run the installer. Why is it so indescript? Oh no. What did you do? Who's this guy? What did you do? You ate into it. Oh, it's just a shell script. Weird. Why is that so weird? This? Is this it? Yeah, okay. Now it's working. They must have changed the whole installer setup. Now I'll go back to Foxy. You won't see this other one. This other screen I am not sharing. Something I actually use. which I think I have to go to like settings, certificate, view certificates, cool. Then I go to burp. No, sorry burp. Temporary start. Go to settings. Where is this one? Network. Connections. I have to generate it somewhere. Oh no. We'll just see if the browser works. How about that? Intercept on, open browser. Let's see if the browser works. That was what they couldn't figure out last time. Yep. Still don't. Oh! Oh, they got it. Nice. It used to just crash right there. Cool, I don't even have to use Foxy. We'll do that later. Eventually. It's just disabled anyway, so. And then now, we got the burp browser. This is inadvertently a walkthrough of Burp Suite install for ARM. And then we go to... Okay. Why are we doing this? Well, because I know it's a very easy way to perform the local file inclusions. So what we'll do here is, oh, even though it's on intercept, let's just forward everything. So what even is this? Text array. Oh, we got a session ID cookie. Gmail public. So we should be able to upload by some way or another. Why would it only show me uploads? Yeah. Why? If it's showing me uploads, I should be able to download stuff. Or I should be able to upload stuff to download. But I'm sure that's like a local file inclusion thing. Especially with the index.php. So that's why we're going to look for our local inclusion list. No, what is it? Word list. This should be pretty quick too. List.tag, let's see what we got. Yeah. We should have the other ones too, like the /. What is the name of that one? I know that's local file inclusion. Etc. I mean, if it's just that, should be able to just do this. Not found. I think that's it passes through though. This is old. Okay. Anyway, word list. We want to get a good response. So, what? Okay, that's okay. Go to the raw. Okay, that's VMware Pro is acting weird about scrolling. So we'll start from the bottom. I know there's a better one. I probably have it stored somewhere for your actual usage. Copy. Oh my gosh, let's just do this. I'm sure somebody's out there making fun of me. here to burp. We'll go to send this one to the intruder. Sniper. Single set of payloads. One position. So where is my payload? What can I put the payload? Can't put it here, can I? Okay, cool. That's what we wanted. Yep. That's the payload. And now, payloads. Load? Yeah. Okay. So now it's just going to go through and shove these payloads in there. And it should tell us which one is going to be our ticket, or which files are locally included. If it is indeed the LFI vulnerability, since SSH didn't work, we should try that again to make sure. Which one was it? This one. I must have done that one. Try root again. 10, 128, 824. It's still just gonna no response me. That's still weird. Okay, yeah. I'll just let it do its thing, I guess. We'll start it. One of these. Let's look at the response. Do we actually get? Is it actually giving our payload? I probably did it wrong. Okay. Yeah, we're gonna have to do this another time. And I think I put the payload in the wrong spot anyway. Well, let's just pause here and maybe continue on in our next time I can live stream. Well, if you've come to view, hopefully you had fun.